So to discuss this idea of mindfulness further, we're going to break this down to a real life example, kind of distinguishing between what I call being on autopilot, or you might look at it as being asleep versus practicing mindfulness and being awake. So being on autopilot means that there's some sort of stimulus, internally being a thought or a feeling that we have, externally being a circumstance or event. And then being on autopilot, we have this knee-jerk reaction. We just react without even thinking, and that's how we go about our life. For example, you could wake up on a Monday morning and have an inbox full of emails, or look at your task list and realize that you have a ton of schoolwork to do. Your reaction to that knee-jerk reaction is probably going to be a series of dread, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, things of that nature. So you see that inbox and immediately you have that reaction. And you carry along with those thoughts of, I have so much to do, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, this isn't all going to get done today, oh my god. And you start to spiral and you have all of those feelings attached to that one stimulus being your inbox. Practicing mindfulness means that there is another step in this process. So we still have our full inbox on that Monday morning, but practicing mindfulness means taking a minute, a breath, in between the stimulus and your response. Now notice that being on autopilot, I use the word reaction. But practicing mindfulness, there's a conscious response that we choose. So we have this full inbox, we choose to take a breath. That mindfulness aspect is the space you take in between the stimulus and your response. It's that gap between whatever thought and feeling you have and your self-concept. It's not identifying with all of the thoughts and feelings that you may have in a given day. So you have this aspect of mindfulness, you take that break, you take that breath, and then you choose how to respond to that full inbox. You take a step back, you take a breath, you realize this is your reality, you accept it for what it is, and then you go about in a more productive and conscious way of responding to that stimulus. Maybe you make a priority list. Maybe you do some deep breathing exercises to calm your nervous system down. Maybe you call a friend and talk about how you're feeling to alleviate that stress, and then you tackle that first thing on your to-do list. But whatever it is, you're being conscious of how you're responding to that stimulus. Meditation is often conflated with this term of mindfulness, and it's in fact not the same thing. You can think of meditation as the scaffolding or the framework to develop a mindful brain, or develop that lifestyle or practice of the daily mindfulness. One thing that I think gets misconstrued when this word gets tossed around is that you're only practicing mindfulness when you're meditating, when you're taking that action. So mindfulness is really just a 20-minute practice when you're sitting on that cushion, or a 20-minute yoga session, or a 20-minute mindful walk. But that's not the case. The meditation or the mindful practice is helping you develop and literally change your brain, so your brain is structured to practice being mindful in every moment and every instance and every day. So practicing mindfulness is more of a journey that you would have throughout your entire life. And it's called a practice because, as we said before, it's really difficult to do every minute of every day. So understanding that this takes time is really important. Meditation is what I like to call the art of coming back to the present moment. Noticing when you are running away with your thoughts, bringing yourself back. That's like strengthening your mindfulness muscle. Meditation helps you do that. Meditation is a way to train our brains to develop that mindful state. Again, we're using it as a muscle. We're strengthening our mind to focus on the here and now and to not run away with our thoughts and feelings. It's also a way to develop self-compassion and kindness, again, by recognizing that this is a difficult thing to do, not judging yourself when you do run away with your thoughts, not judging the thoughts you do have, recognizing and understanding that you are human, you are bound to make mistakes. Developing a sense of kindness around this is crucial. And again, this is a practice. It takes time. That's really important. A couple other things that I think get misconstrued is that students have come to me before saying that they think that there's one right way to meditate or to practice mindfulness, and because they can't do it or they're bad at it, then they've gotten really frustrated and they've given up. I want to be clear in that there's no right or wrong way to practice mindfulness. The fact that you are trying in and of itself is the entire point. So in order to meditate, you don't have to be all zen-like on top of that mountain on your cushion. No, that is one way to do it. But there are a myriad of other ways to practice mindfulness. This is a tree of contemplative or mindful practices that you could partake in. A lot of these, I would say most of these, are rooted in Eastern Asian practices. So some of these words might be new to you, but I encourage you to explore this tree and figure out what practice works for you. Just because you're not sitting on a cushion or you're not noticing your breath and practicing that intentionally all of the time doesn't mean that you still can't meditate or practice mindfulness in a way that suits you. Again, these are some De-Stress Monday tips that I find really helpful. So just to give you more examples, there's plenty of ways to practice mindfulness. You can do mindful meditation or Zen meditation and focus on your breath and do that belly breathing. You could also do a body scan or progressive muscle relaxation to really take note of the signals that your body is telling your mind and to get in tune with all the sensations happening in your physical being. There's ways to ground down by noticing your surroundings, noticing 5 things that you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This technique is very helpful for bouts of anxiety or nervousness. It's a really, really easy way to center yourself in your surroundings and to bring yourself back. And then there's different types of mindful movement like yoga. De-Stress Monday offers a lot of different types of yoga practices and poses that you can try. All of this is to say that mindfulness is a really important concept to help mitigate all of the mental anguish and stress and chaos that might be going on up here. But again, trying it and practicing is the most important thing. And something else that I'd like to share is if you do start to practice meditation or mindfulness, you might find that you actually become more anxious as you first start to do it, and you might find that you become more tired or lethargic. Both of those things are normal because your body's not used to sitting still and just being. So all those thoughts are going to bombard you, and that can seem really overwhelming. Do your best to just notice your breathing and anchor yourself down with your breath, and with time that will mitigate. Same with the sleepiness. There's something that your brain kind of goes through. It's called ego depletion. So it takes effort, and again, it can be difficult to actually focus on your breath and to be present. And again, you are training your brain to do that. So at first you might meet some resistance and start to feel lethargic, but with time, that will also mitigate, and the effort is very much worth the results. In our next video, we are going to discuss another type of mindfulness, which is called savoring.